Shalom. Allah start out by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Wakakadash. Double honors to the apostles, and elders, great men stone. Salutations to the fillet, just pushing this truth across the four corners of the earth, all faith, truth, and sincerity. I'm one about back getting us sitting. This we're going to about how the so-called white man eating my doubles. How they have these meetings. They have these summit meetings or whatever. Whatever future plans they might want to try to accomplish, right? And like saying in those meetings, they could be in there having plans to set up to try to not try, but they want to take down the so-called Negro, Latino, Native American Israelites. They they really want to get rid of you Negroes, Latino, natives, which are the Israelites. But their main plans is to try to come at the men of the Lord that have the truth of the word Lord Yahweh. They really want to take away this truth that the apostles and the elders of brother grandmas don't teach. They find ways. They trying to find ways. To stop this word. But they not really fully in control. They might think that they have full control of trying to slow down this truth or come at the men of the Lord that have this truth. But they wicked plans is not gonna work that they have in mind. It's gonna fail them. And because like I said, the Lord Yahushua is in full control, and he's not gonna let these devils fully execute their plans. And because like I say, 2/3 Israelites that's not of the righteous number of the so-called Negro, Latino, natives. They gonna get caught up. In these devils, so-called white people eating my devils. NWO agenda, the NWO agenda, wicked plans that they have. If you're not, like I say, 2/3 are not spiritually aware of what's going on around them. They'll fall off anything. But the apostles and elders of Berger starting to have this truth. They are spiritually aware of what these devils are, having up their sleeves, as far as like, hey, watch out for this certain, whatever law or whatever may come to pass or whatever may be or whatever they're trying to do. This setup that's set up by them. It's manufactured by them. Some pandemic or something like 2020, right? It just gotta be a spiritual way. Like, hey, this is a so-called white man. East side of my devil doing this. Try to like I say, they trying to depopulate the depopulation agenda, trying to kill off a certain number of people. But and it's not gonna work. And like I say, mainly they want to kill you so-called Negro, Latino, Native Israelites. They want to kill Israel all for good. That's their main plan and agenda. But it's not gonna fully happen for them. It's not gonna work for them, man. But I'm gonna start with Psalms 37:12. Psalms 37:12. The wicked plotteth against the just, and gnasheth upon him with his teeth. So the wicked, who's the wicked? So-called white man, East side of my devils, these elites, these bankers, they plot up against the just. Who's the just? I say the men of the Lord, the apostles, and the elders of Berger Stone. The Israelites. The men of the Lord that had the truth. That teach this word or the word of Lord Yahweh Shai. So they plot. They try to find ways to stop this truth, and slow it down, whatever it may be, with these guidelines. You can't do this or say that, or it may be, right? But they're not, like I said, they plans fully. It's not gonna come to prosper, Cause like I said, the Lord Yahweh Shai is not gonna let them fully accomplish their NWO agenda. He gonna disappoint these Edomite devils, man. They wicked plans and agenda that they have, man. And it's like, especially coming up against the truth. They can't slow down this truth, man. That Lord Yahweh Shai, he has set up the apostles, the men of Lord Great Millstone, to teach this truth. They could try, but they won't keep on running to they keep running to problems, trying to stop it. They think they got something, good to stop the word or the truth coming out, whatever it may be, but then they just get something, a stumbling block or something comes about to where they can't really execute the plan that they want to try to, stop the word, stop this truth, but I say, and these devils, like, they eager, they anxious, they want to, stop this word, this truth, but it's gonna come a time, like I said, this truth gonna, it's really gonna be the Lord Yahweh Shai. Once it's true, it's gonna be a cutoff point. But these devils, they want this truth to stop now. They want this word to stop coming out now. But it's not gonna work. But we'll go from there. Micah 2:1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand. So woe means destruction. So destruction to these so-called white people, Edomite devils. Like I say, man, they stay up stay up all night, whatever, day, whatever. And they they work the evil upon their beds, man. They figure out they be in these summits, whatever, or in their secret rooms, whatever it may be. And they try to figure out, how can we stop this truth? How we can, get rid of these Israelites, so-called Negro Latino natives, And then, like, they try to, they once they come up with a plan or something, then they practice it. They try to put it in motion, What is order out of KO, And I say, you have folks that fall for it. I say the only ones that ain't gonna fall for these wicked Edomite devils' agenda, and where that, hey, this is their, wicked plans, they trying to push or whatever, they lies or deception. Only ones that gonna notice that, in spirit is men of the Lord, the apostles, and the Ellsberg Millstone, and expose this devil for his, wicked plans that he's doing, like, this just, he try to, get his NWO agenda plans. They just trying to get the New World Order agenda plans, going. It's, but like I said, they're not gonna fully. It's not gonna fully prosper, man. And like I say, it's a power in their hand, because like I said, they in rulership. This is their time to rule, but their time of rulership has come to an end. They write these laws, set up these laws and whatnot, especially to trap up Jake, so-called Negro Latino, these unrighteous decrees, that they push out there, man, to try to trap, so-called Negro Latino natives, get them locked up, get caught in a jam, and that's what they want to, they want to try, like I said, they want to try to get at the men of the Lord, but it ain't gonna work, because the Most High, the Lord Yahweh Shai, not gonna let these devils, eat my devils, come at the men of the Lord, with their wicked plan agendas. It's not gonna work against the elect. Now, it work. It could it could work against a 2/3 Israelite. That's not. That don't believe in this truth of the word Lord Yahweh Shai. But the elect. The elect. Uh, the righteous number, or the 144,000, those that believe Lord Yahweh Shai, that teach this truth, and believe, in the apostles and Ellsberg, Brother Graham Millstone, you know, they not gonna, it ain't gonna work. They could try, but like I said, the Most High Yahweh Shai gonna have them in the stomach block trying to stop them in the Lord, for teaching the word, like I say, you try to write your unrighteous decrees or to try to stop this truth or whatever it may be, but like I said, let's Lord Yahweh Shai, everything His will to stop and cut this word, internet gets cut off, whatever it may be, YouTube stops or whatever, however that comes about, but it's not gonna be of the so-called white man devil Edomite, it's not gonna be because of fully him. If this word, this truth, the word stop, the apostles and Elder and the Brother Graham don't stop teaching this word, it's not gonna be because of the so-called white man Edomite devils that stop it. It's gonna be the Most High Yahweh Shai, because, is there's no more of teaching, that's done, it's over with, but these devils try to do all they can, man, to try to get their NWO agenda going and try to stop this word, this truth from going out, but it ain't gonna work. But Micah 2:2, and they coveted fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man in his house, even a man in his heritage. And also, that's another thing too. My doubles, like I say, they set up these unrighteous decrees and laws, to try to take things away from the so-called Negro Latino natives, instead of oppress the Israelites, which are the so-called Negro Latino natives, oppressing, saying the Israelite man, like I say, with these unrighteous decrees that they push, out here, man, you gotta watch your back, going out to, out into this world, out and about, driving, whatever it may be, you gotta, watch your rear view mirror and make sure no cop is behind you or whatever it may be, or, you gotta pay attention to what's going on around you, cause I say these devils, my devils, they're trying, they just try to get the Israelite man, in a jam, and get you locked up in these prisons, man, and and I said going forward, I said once these martial law, once martial law is declared, these martial law troops are coming to the streets, it's, that, we gotta deal with that for like, as far as like, going to a concentration camp, getting taken to a concentration camp, but if you're that lit, Lord Yahweh Shai gonna deliver you out of it, but, if you gotta, like I say, if you gotta die for the truth, you gotta believe in Lord Yahweh Shai, you gotta die for the truth, hey, if you, that's what it's gotta be, that's your lot, but if you kept the faith, you then, you're not gonna bow down to the system or take that RFID chip, which is the mark of the beast. Like, you could be on that number, and Lord Yahweh Shai, have mercy, and you be, raised up and be in the, in the kingdom, with the Lord Yahweh Shai, but, and like I say, man, my doubles, they, these, them Khazars over there, them, Amalekites over there, Amalek, that's in that land right now, and Israel, they trying to be like the so-called Negro Latino natives, they're trying to, pretend, try to be like the chosen of the Lord's people, which are the so-called Negro Latino natives, which are the true Israelites, the true chosen people of the Lord, but these devils getting exposed for, they, these other nations is getting exposed more and more. Hey, these Israelis are not the chosen people. They know that. Oh hell no. Y'all are not the chosen people. And more and more they're getting exposed, and they don't like that. You know, I say, man, these devils getting exposed more and more, man. This truth is going out. These devils are being exposed. The Edomite so-called white people are being exposed for who they really are. And the true chosen people, the Lord, the so-called Negro, Latino, natives, which are the Israelites, are being is being shown who are the chosen people. But I'm gonna go from there. Because what I'm saying, the Edomite devils, they wicked plans and your agenda, is not gonna, like I said, it's not gonna work on it's not gonna prosper upon the elect. I mean, the Lord, it's, not fully, you know what I'm saying? Because Most High Yahweh gonna make a way, for those that believe in Him, that kept His word and kept pushing His word, kept believing on, to the point, what I'm saying, all hell breaking loose out here, so forth. Once that happens, Most High Yahweh gonna make a way, for those that believe in Him, so let to escape out of, certain situations that might come about, But Isaiah 59:19, so shall they fear the name of the Lord Yahweh from the west, and His glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the spirit of the Lord Yahweh shall lift up a standard against him. So the Most High Lord Yahweh, hey, that's that name, right? Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh, Yahweh Shai. That's that name. Hey, they don't, they fear that name. Those, the Edomite doubles, they fear the name. So-called white people, red people, Edomites, ones in, the elites, the bankers, they fear that name. Every time that name is, being said, by the apostles and the Ellsberg, Brother Great Millstone, they fear that name, man. That it's like a the name of the Lord is like a repellent to the Edomite devils. They don't want to hear that, They hate that name, And like I say, when the enemy shall come in like a flood, I would say earlier, but I ain't too long just said, the martial law troops, once they, come into these cities, and come door to door when that time comes. Because, like I said, they got plans set up to do it, It's, when I say when all hell breaks, when all chaos in the streets happens, this, what's this economy crash, people start losing their minds because, they ain't got no money or whatever it may be. Martial law troops come in, Most High Yahweh gonna make a way for His elect, go to the word standard. It means He's gonna make the Most High Yahweh gonna make a way for His elect to escape, go to the word standard. The Most High Yahweh gonna make a way to for His elect. That's all that righteous number. He'll make a way that His elect escape the that situation. Going to a concentration camp. Now you're gonna have men of the Lord that do. I say gonna get probably go to a concentration camp, but I say Most High Yahweh gonna make a way for those men that that might be on the chopping block, guillotine, not get harmed, escape somehow. Man had to not deal with getting, man had to not get killed. But you're gonna have men of the Lord that's in His truth. That's gonna have to face that, but they didn't, like I said, they didn't, bow down to the system. They didn't give into taking the RFID chip. They died believing Lord Yahweh Shai. Like I said, they're gonna be with the, day of that number. They're gonna be a Lord Yahweh Shai. But hopefully I'm part of righteous number. But I keep my faith unto the end. I keep believing and just keep pushing and pushing this word. Best of my ability. And excuse me. Just keep on believing in this truth. you know, and keep believing in His word, and keep my faith, and um, and not let nothing of these things of this world, what it may be, take me away from this, take me away from the truth, or this truth, because the word Lord Yahweh Shai, this truth is, what's gonna be, it's gonna be, it's your protection, and not to abandon it, not abandon this truth for nothing, and keep believing, keep fighting until the end, But I said, Lord Yahweh Shai gonna make a way, for those of the elect, the so-called Negro, Latino natives, He gonna make a way for His chosen elect to escape, these Edomite doubles, wicked plans they have, set up, to come at, Jake, so-called Negro, Latino natives, come at the men of the Lord, but it ain't gonna work, man. But with that, I didn't want to make this too long. Hope this was edifying. So again, I'd like to give all praise and glory to Yahweh, about Hashem, Yahushai, about Hashem, Kakadash, to the apostle elders, to the sisters and brothers, to the few Akwaf sisters that do listen, keep the faith in Yahushai, keep fighting with that. I say shalom.